The 3 E's and how they can determine the rest of your future. In The Other Wes Moore, One Name, Two Faiths, your environment, education, and expectations make up a big part of the book. Ultimately, the area you live in, the schooling you're given, and the activities you decide to participate in can change your entire life. If you live in a good neighborhood, you won't have to worry about gang fights, too many drugs, and violent individuals. If you go to a good school and get a proper education, you'll be smarter and make better life choices. If you don't participate in illegal activities, then you won't have to worry about going to jail. You can focus more on what's actually important in life. I think the environment you grow up in is the most important factor in your life. Where you grow up can determine what you can accomplish in life. If you grow up in a neighborhood where gangs are more prevalent, then you are more likely to get involved in gangs. The environment that Moore grew up in was not a good environment. He did not have a father to guide him down the right path because his father died at a young age. There were a lot of drugs and gangs in the cities. His peers were bad kids and veered him off the right path. He started tagging because he probably didn't think he would get him in trouble. He started skipping school. His mom got worried that he would end up dropping out, so she sent him to a new environment, military school. This change in environment changed Moore around completely. He went from a kid that didn't care about school to a kid that saw that others cared more about that he would pass than he did. Once he saw that, he started to do better in school and became a scholar student. Wes grew up in a mostly the same environment. His mother left his father after he tried to beat her. His older brother, his role model, was in a deep into the drug game and was making a lot of money. When Wes saw that he could make that much money, he decided to secretly join in the drug game. This led him down a terrible path. He stopped caring about school, got 2 girls pregnant, killed a man, and dropped out of school. His environment had a big role in this. Since his older brother was doing so well in the drug game, it made Wes want what he had. Moore writes, Tony, he complained, was wearing all the newest clothes and was now sporting a thick gold rope on top of that. Wes wanted what his brother had, so he followed in his brother's steps. The environment I grew up in is a good environment. I have both parents still living at home. I go to a decent school district. I grew up with friends that didn't try to pressure me into drugs or anything illegal. I grew up with parents that care a lot about what I do and make sure I get what I need. They gave up a lot of money to work jobs in the schools that gave less money, but let them be there while I grew up. This meant we had a lot less money to grow up on, but it was enough to survive. The environment has made me into a really good kid. I get good grades from my parents always pushing me to do better in school. I get great attendance because my parents don't let me stay home. I don't do illegal things because my parents check up on me constantly to make sure I'm not doing anything bad. I don't think I had just one reason that made me successful. It was a big mixture of my environment, my parents pushed me to do better and to meet their expectations, my education from school, and from home. My parents don't believe that you should ground your child. They believe that you should reward the good, and only if the bad was really bad, then a spanking was more important than taking away what little we had. Moore attended a mostly white privileged school. He had a friend named Justin who went with him every day. Moore lived in a poor part of Bronx, but he went to a rich white kid school. He made friends from Bronx from playing basketball, and they started making jokes about him going to a white privileged school. Moore describes his life in his school and social life by writing, I was becoming too rich for the kids from the neighborhood and too poor from the kids at school. He stopped fitting in at school and at home. His grades started slipping and he stopped caring about what he was doing as long as he wasn't failing. His education at a white privileged school would have been good for him if he didn't live in the Bronx, or if he didn't let the kids get into his head about going to a white privileged school. His mom could barely afford to send him to that school, but she wanted to make sure he got a good education outside of the Bronx. She knew education was important and threatened him that if he didn't get his grades up, he would go to military school. He didn't believe that she would send him there, so he continued to keep his attitude up about school. Moore ended up getting sent to military school for his bad grades and bad decisions. He started off with a bad mentality. He saw it more as a punishment than an opportunity. The opportunity was to become a better person and change his life. It protected him from going to jail and ruining his life. Moore writes, They made it clear that they cared if I succeeded, and eventually I did too. Once he realized that the people there cared about him succeeding, he started working harder and started caring too. He started to enjoy military school and became the youngest senior non-commissioned officer in the entire corps. The change in school made a big difference in his life, and the people who pushed him along probably saved his life from ending up in prison. Wes went to Perry Hall High School in West Baltimore. He met a girl named Alyssa, and since neither parents were home during the day, Alyssa soon became pregnant. Wes didn't tell his mom for a while. Wes didn't stop seeing other girls either, and this ended up getting him in a fight with a guy named Roy. Wes shot Roy and had to go to a juvenile detention facility. After his stay there, he tried to go back to school, but dropped out after his baby was born. Since he didn't get any good school or guidance from his family, he didn't know about how what he did would screw up his life later. He couldn't get a job because of his record, and because he didn't finish high school. This ended up having him get back into the drug game to support his family. He ended up making a bad sell and got busted and put back in jail later. I went to Springfield schools my whole life. I know almost all the seniors there, and I mostly know who's a good student and who's not. My mom loved Springfield and thought it was a great school. She believed I could get the best education there, so I went there. My school had a bit of a drug problem though. It was claimed that Springfield High School has one of the worst drug problems in Northeast Ohio. It was relatively easy to stay away from the drugs if you didn't care about if you didn't care about what people thought about you. Some of my good friends started using drugs, but I made sure to stay away from them. I didn't want to start something that would ruin my life one day. The education I got from my parents was clear enough to make sure I stayed clear at all costs, even if it meant losing a couple of friends. The expectations of someone you trust can make a big difference. If you have parents that expect you to succeed and push you to do so, then it is a lot easier to succeed than on your own. Moore had a big support group of people that wanted to see him succeed in life and become someone that no one in his family has been before. He would be the first person to go into the military, the first person to go to college, and the first person to do something big in their life. Without those people pushing him to succeed, he might not have made it so far. He might not have done what he has done in his life. Moore writes, "The chilling truth is that Wes's story could have been mine. The tragedy is that my story could have been his." He says this because it's the truth. Moore got lucky that he had someone to push him to better in his life. He had a family to support him and make him a better person. Without these people who pushed him to fix his life, he could have been in jail right next to the other Wes Moore. Wes didn't have anyone to set expectations for him. He had a mother that wanted so much better for her sons but couldn't afford to make a change in their life. His mother stopped interfering with his life, and it turned very bad for Wes. He couldn't finish anything in his life and is now spending life in prison. Maybe if one person would have stepped up when he needed somebody the most, he could have been saved. When you look at what makes a person into who they are, it's not one thing. It's not just their environment, it's not just their education, it's not just their expectations in life. It's all of that plus more. Your environment ties in with your education just as much as it ties in with your expectations. You can't have one without the others. The way you act on what you're given will either open or close doors that you're given, and you won't know which ones you opened or which ones you closed until it's too late to change your actions, for better or for worse. Thank you.